Hello, good evening, and welcome back. There's been another shooting. A police shooting in Minneapolis. However, this one was completely justified. But hey, it's on BBC News Most Read, and they wish to try to mislead, so that's why we're here. And thank you to everybody else, and welcome people who've come over from my collaborations with the Reaver and He is the Eunuch. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you like what you see, and with that, let us crack on. So first Minneapolis police death since George Floyd captured on body cam, which is bloody good, and we do encourage that for all police as well, to do actually wear these body cameras, because of course it helps to hold them accountable after the fact, but more importantly, it's that if a police officer knows that what they're doing is being recorded all the time, then they're more likely to follow the law anyway, which is ideal. And as far as I can see, what happened here is pretty much case closed. It's cut and dry, and exactly what you would want to happen in this situation. As Minneapolis police have released body cam footage of a fatal shooting by officers, the first death at the hands of police in the city since that of George Floyd, a black man, in May. And yes, technically true, a black man did die in police custody. I mean, you're kind of missing out a lot of important context there, but let us see what they show in their footage. So, there is a lot of shouting after they have stopped them at a gas station for a traffic stop. This was with a probable cause, felony search for a weapon, and they're trying to block the car in there, and those tail lights look like a Nissan GTR. Great car. It will fade to black as there are gunshots, of course. That is the BBC after all. But from what they've said, there was a female in the vehicle at the same time, and that is really not what you want in a police shootout. You do not want there to be an innocent bystander. Were they innocent? Well, let's say yes until more information comes out. But thankfully, luckily, the only person harmed was the criminal, Dolol Id, who was part of the Somalian community, according to the mayor, Jacob Frey, the same mayor that was booed off stage earlier in June because he wasn't going to dismantle or defund or destroy the police. So he was booed off then, but he's still trying to appease them, and so sorry that the Somalian community has lost another member. It's like, well, maybe the community should do some introspection and wonder why this is such a problem. And Dolol Id's father as well kind of gives you some inclination as to why this happened. So, initial witness statements and police say Mr. Id fired first and was shot dead when the police officers returned fire. Good. And in the press conference afterwards, which I will link from CBS, gotta love their like to dislike ratios, but I will link it because it is worth watching how the police chief answers the questions and talks about it. That he says there will of course be an investigation from the DA, and they will have to make the decisions based on was what happened legal or not. But the particularly good point from the police chief is to say that the police officers have a decision to make, and their decision is that if violence is occurring, they have to protect everybody else, it's public safety, and also themselves. And if they are put in such a situation, then they're going to have to use lethal force in order to neutralise the threat. And I'm paraphrasing here. He says it very eloquently. And of course it does help when the chief of police is also black. And that's probably the worst thing about this, that we seem to have to play their identity politics games in order to appease them. So either way, they win. That it's not meritocracy anymore. It's just, fine, you want a black person or a woman or a disabled person or a gay, lesbian, trans, whatever. You've got them. Now shut up. So they're still getting their quotas. Anywho, the footage from Wednesday's fatal shooting from the body cam of one of the officers involved was released late on Thursday, and it is good to see that the officers' names have not been released, because it is down to the DA to do their own investigation and then come to their conclusion, and if it is worth naming the officers then do so and prosecute. But not before the decision has been made. Okay? And if it is going to be appealed, then of course not before then. Only when the final sentence has been ruled upon should the name come out, if it is even necessary to do so then. Instead of course, what had happened after George Floyd killed himself in police custody. Let's put it that way. Why not? So, Miss Did's father, Bale Gale, gathered at the scene the following day, prompting fears of renewed protests. And this photo is from earlier on, after George Floyd. This isn't a recent one. At the recent one, they just burned some trash and gathered around. No social distancing or masks, but that wasn't really reported on because it doesn't fit the narrative. But his father, who gathered at the scene, said he was just sitting in the car, and bullets were shot at him, and no reason. Why are we here? Because of colour. He's a black man. We want to know why my sweet son gets shot and killed. Ignoring the poor grammar, you can see it's that this kind of mentality really doesn't help. Because you've got two opposite mentalities which do not help to solve the situation. One is, no matter what you do, you're going to be shot. In which case, you might as well do whatever you want to do, because nothing can save you. And the other is, oh, nobody can touch you because you're perfect. And therefore, it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to see negative consequences. Both of these are detrimental because they are not based in reality. Instead, you would want the talk with your children, in America more so than in the UK, but same, which is, what do you do if you're stopped by the police? And you cooperate, but you don't really talk much, because good luck knowing the exact laws, otherwise you're just going to get yourself in trouble. And then you go after them legally afterwards. I know it's annoying, and I know it takes time, but that is the safest way in order to ensure that you are kept safe, and that you're not prosecuted for something you didn't do. It's annoying, but that is the way the things have to go. They have to take a while in order to try and get to the truth of things, instead of spur-of-the-moment rash decisions. So they say, City Mayor Jacob Frey said he was committed to getting his facts and pursuing justice. Good. We know life has been cut short tonight, and that trust between communities of colour and law enforcement is fragile, he said in a statement. Because of people like yourself, yes. Rebuilding that trust will depend on complete transparency. When was that trust there in the first place, according to yourselves? Mr. Floyd's death in May led to calls for reform or even abolition of the city's police department, but those efforts have stalled. Good. It is worth mentioning their caption here, saying George Floyd's death led to violent protests in the city, including this police station set on fire in May. Yes, violent protests. It's a step up from peaceful protests, but not quite the riots that were actually happening. But there you go. There is the lowdown. As I say, link in the description if you wish to watch the details afterwards as well. But as far as I can see, justice was served. The police kept themselves safe, and isn't it good to see that they say it's the first police death since George Floyd? That seems phenomenal. That almost seems just unlikely, impossible. That what, it's been over 6 months, and that's the only one. So bloody good. That's definitely something to be pleased about with a population of 350 million. So well done, US, and let's hope that people can see reason here. And if they can, maybe that reason can also be pointed in other directions. For example, George Floyd and the US elections. And that is the one good thing that we can bring out of these situations, which is that we know, for any right-leaning individuals, we will be kept to a much higher standard than the left. And if it is just the left and the right fighting each other, we have to be super cautious. However, the left do not hold themselves to the same standard, which means they slip up, they make mistakes. So when they try and bring in anybody from the centre, or who isn't politically charged, those individual people will then see the left as hypocrites, not being able to hold up to their own standards, and lying and being deceitful. And of course they will see the right wing as being very upfront and honest and sincere. And the decision will be easy. So let's keep doing what we're doing, keep doing good work, keep being a role model, and time will tell. But as always, let me know what you guys think down below. Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, until next time, Happy New Year, and have a good one.